Howdy, welcome to another one of these things. Today I'm doing a fankid. So whenever I'm doing these, I always start with a sketch. Sometimes it helps to go right into the sprite if you have a very concise idea, but for me, I oftentimes like to do a sketch first. I didn't really need to carve the head here. That backside doesn't matter as much, but because I wanted to do something that was decently form-fitting, I sculpted a bit anyways. Here I made the body a bit too short, but again, that doesn't super matter because it's a sketch. One thing that is important when you're doing these kinds of sketches is to keep the proportions pretty exact as you can to the actual sprite proportions. If you do details for something that's too thin or too tall or just the wrong proportions entirely, then there's a good chance they won't translate onto the final sprite as well. If you're experienced, you could probably, do sketches that are just in your own style and then translate it fine. But for beginners, I would recommend keeping as close to the proportions as possible. So for the hair, I do a lot of experimenting. I said this in the troll video, but, iteration is the biggest thing in design. You want to do as many takes as possible. You want to see as many angles as you can. So here I'm just trying a bunch of shit out and seeing what sticks. And what sticks is the original thing, spoilers, but seeing how the hair could manifest in different ways really helps me design it better. One thing that's important about this hair that I'm designing here is something I learned from looking at a friend's sprites. So you want to have connecting lines pretty much between the fringe and the back of the head. That's what I'm circling here. You have a line from the top bump to the bangs. You have a line from the sideburns to the interior flap. It makes it feel cohesive and it makes it feel like one actual hairstyle. I'm doing a lot of experimenting with mouths here, and the one that I settle on for the sprite isn't one that I end up doing. It's too detailed. If you're going for full accuracy, I wouldn't do this sort of like 1 pixel, sculpt the shape of the head a bit. Even if this character is meant to be chubbier, that's not a thing Hussey does. And so I would not put that in a sprite. Cargo pants are really, really tough to do in the style. I've tried to do them a lot of times. They don't look good in the sketch here. I think they turned out good in the final sprite, but they have a very particular way of looking that is hard to get across in this style. I think they are excellent characterization, though, and they really, speak to what this guy's deal is. I do some Adidas-styled shoes here. Jade has them. I don't know, I think they look good. They're simple. You can pull elements from the kids. That brow and underlip thing I don't do. Again, it's too much detail. I don't think Hussey would do that. The furrowed brow works best on like a problem sleuth character. Here I am sketching out symbols. I know I want it to be a pig, so I do a couple iterations. A side profile doesn't look very good. A more detailed one. This one here is inspired by the problem sleuth pigs, but it's too simple. I wanted to do something sort of adjacent to John's Slimer shirt, or green slime ghost shirt, so I make it a little more detailed. I, have the different parts of the cheek and the jowls. It looks good here, it looks better in the sprite, but I think this is a pretty solid symbol. This is my setup for when I do spriting. I've been using it for a while. It sets up using a base by Radical Dude 42, now going by Mars Gallivanger, I believe. And it helps me keep the proportions on lock. In a lot of sprites, about once I'm done with the body, I like to hide the underlying layer entirely, but here I don't do that because I'm a little bit rusty. I start with the outline of the entire body in one go. A lot of people like to draw the torso and then the legs and then the feet. And when you do that, you get this sort of weird disconnect. The line from shoulder to hem of pant is one straight line, or one curved line, rather. And it's really important to keep that. If you were to make this a sprite for an adventure, you would want to separate them. It's important to have, legs, feet, face, different parts of the face, torso, arms separated and all that, so that you can animate a character with a full range of movement. But this is a demonstration sprite just for art's sake, so I don't do that here. This is why I also have this incredibly janky fill thing that I'm doing here. When you have shoes like this, it's important that the details on them follow the curve of the shoe. It's easy to make them look too flat, and it's easy to make the hem of the jean puff out too much or poke out too much. This is more based on Carcat's pants, which don't have the rolled bit that Dave's do. I think a lot of people reference Dave way too heavily or just edit his sprite. I would avoid doing that. There are a lot of ways to represent things in the style. I do a bit of line carving on the cargo pockets here to make them, sort of merge in to the pants a bit better, because, that's the part that would be sewed in directly. That's the tough bit to convey, I think. But again, they're just sort of pill-shaped rectangles. The line weight is important. I nixed the pockets here. They're too much detail. That's why you want to do proportionate sketches so that you can, easily translate these design details. On to the hair. Blonde characters, or I guess white-haired, characters in Homestuck tend to have thinner lines in the majority of the hair than they do on the rest of their bodies. If you look at Rose and Dave, their hair outlines are pretty thin. I exaggerate the connecting lines in the hair even more here, give it more structure, make it feel better. I'm just going for this sort of floppy, it's almost a bowl cut, but not really. Eyes are something a lot of people get wrong in sprites. Homestuck characters are wall-eyed like The Simpsons. They're looking off into the middle distance. You don't want them to be too focused, looking to the right or looking at the camera. You want them to just be vacant, and they should look dopey and stupid. People are too afraid, I think, to make their characters look kind of dumb. I think it's essential. It's part of the style. If you look at any problems with character, any of the Homestuck characters, trolls get it a little less, but for the kids, it is vital. I do this sort of tilde-shaped mouth a bit too much, I think, but I haven't shown it in these videos before, so I'm running with it. This way of doing symbols is also something I stole from Mars Gallivanger. He did a really great tutorial, which I'll link to in the description, on, drawing a symbol large and then scaling it down and thresholding it. Hussey talked about in their form spring how they don't like doing sprites often because it feels like a lot of pixel surgery. And you can sort of see that after I scale it down. But it's a very difficult balance to strike between getting loose lines and getting that sort of intentional roughness while also going in with a 1 pixel brush and sort of shaping and molding and redrawing bits so that the shapes come across correctly. Because when you're drawing at this scale, individual pixels make a huge difference, but try not to get too caught up in making it pixel art. This isn't pixel art, this is doodling with an aliased brush. Those are two different things. Keep that in mind. Here I scale this down. I'm using bicubic sharper. That's what Hussey uses to scale things down. Keep that in mind. Then I threshold it, which makes it so that it is only black and white pixels. Take out the white background and color it. I'm coloring a little roughly. You can have two colors. You can have multiple colors in a symbol. It doesn't have to be one thing. And I'm not a big fan of people recoloring symbols so that they fit the character's color. I think it should be the other way around, but whatever. Here I'm doing that aforementioned pixel surgery, just going in, making sure things look correct. And there we go. This is the finished sprite. I have thoughts on fankid naming and characterization and, what each of the parts of the design mean. But I will get into that in the next video. So for now, have a good one. Deuces.